Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The cows, the bulls, and the calves were thoroughly smeared with a mixture of turmeric and oil, mixed with varieties of minerals. Their heads were bedecked with peacock feathers, and they were garlanded and covered with cloth and golden ornaments. We are reading this morning from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 5, entitled The Meeting of Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev. Text 5, 6, and 7. The festivities of Krishna's birth celebration are herein being described by Sri Shukadev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. Parikshit is just days away from death. He was cursed to die in 7 days. He went to the bank of the Ganga, and there, with the blessings of great Mahatmas from all directions, they came to inspire him, encourage him, offer their gratitude to him, because he was a great king. He was a king who honored and respected every living entity according to their particular position. In his kingdom, the innocent were totally protected, and the crooked had no place or facility to harm anyone. And he lived by such high spiritual principles. Such high spiritual principles that it was just natural for all the citizens to love Krishna, to love God. He gave all support, all encouragement. He was very broad-minded, with very, very deep compassion. So all these great sages and rishis, they wanted to show their gratitude. How? By helping him to perfect his life. Because in the material world, everything comes to an end on the level of the 8 gross and subtle elements. But the soul is eternal. And the purpose of human life is not just to acquire a lot of things and then die and leave those things for your children to worry about and fight over. The purpose of human life is to live in this world and die from this world in a state of consciousness where we could return to our eternal blissful spiritual nature. Parikshit Maharaj was happy with the curse to die, because he can set the ultimate example to all of his citizens for all time to come. Yad yada charati sthastad ad evitarochana. What great men do, common men follow. And a real leader is not a person who has any selfish motives. That's not a leader, that's an exploiter. Whatever position we're in, leadership means leading by example. Helping those who are under our care to understand what is really valuable in life. Tomorrow is beginning of a new year. Tonight is New Year's Eve. Then the path of perfection is clear for us. So just think of Maharaj Parikshit's integrity. He didn't take the role of king so that he could hold on to a throne and power and fame and wealth as long as he could. He took the role of a king, as all great leaders, as a service to help people to find real happiness in this life and beyond. That's what he looked forward to, leading an example. He lived for it and he was willing to die for it. Kali, the personification of irreligion, had no place in Maharaj Parikshit's kingdom because he was so powerful. But how did he use his power? He used his power to serve, to protect, to inspire, to help people to become truly God-conscious and compassionate to each other, because that's what he was. So it is the virtue of wisdom that whatever opportunity, however dark or light it may seem, whatever the circumstance, we see it as an opportunity. And that's very easy if our motivation is to serve. If our motivation is to serve Krishna, then whatever comes, Krishna will reveal to us an opportunity to serve. Conditional devotional service is when things go my way, then I'm inspired to serve. But when things don't go my way, then somehow or other first I have to fix this and make it my way, then I'll be able to serve. But we learn from Guru, Sadhu, and all the Shastras that actual devotional service is not at all like that. Whatever may come, we're looking for the opportunity of how we could best serve. Whether we're a mother, or a father, or a teacher, or a brahmachari, or a brahman, kshatriya, vaishya, shudra, brahmachari, grihastha, sannyas, whatever our role, every situation, how could I serve? And interestingly, we find in the Holy Scriptures, usually the greatest people show the greatest service at the most difficult times, not in the most pleasant times. Of course, they look for the opportunity service in pleasant times, but those are not recorded so much because they're not so graphic, because kind of anybody could do that. What differentiates a great person from an ordinary person is to see the opportunity to serve in an unselfish, offer our way to love, offer our love to the Lord in whatever situation comes. Ashlasya vapadaratham panashtavam. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed, my Lord, if you want, you can embrace me. If you like, you can trample on me. If you like, you can make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. You can do anything you like because I am your servant, unconditionally. Marobi, Rakobi, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he echoed this same sentiment in a beautiful prayer. My Lord, if you like, you can save me. If you like, you can kill me. You have any way, you have the right to do anything you want with me because I'm your servant. So if we really are serious about the service, then we will see opportunity in every situation. So here's the king. His service was, he was excising taxes and giving them back to the citizens in a proper way. He was organizing militaries to protect the innocent. He was establishing laws. He was giving charity to people who were qualified of charity. He was doing everything for others. And then he was cursed to die in 7 days. Think about that. 7 days is, for us, 7 days means next Friday. Yes. How would you like it if somebody told you, you are 100% guaranteed to die on Friday? It's not much time. But when he got that curse, he took it as an opportunity. That now I can show by my example what are the duties of a man about to die. That was what he asked the sages. What are the duties of a man about to die? What is the essence of all religion? What is the primary dharma for everyone? So he could teach his citizens and the whole world the most important of all lessons. And he was happy to die to do that. And here the 10th canto has begun recently. So that means he only has a couple more days to live. And Shukadev Goswami is describing the most glorious, festive celebration of Krishna's birth. And Shukadev and Parikshit Maharaj, he's obviously feeling ecstasy hearing about Krishna's birth, even though he's about to die. Birth and death seem like opposites, very contrary to each other. The dualities of material existence, everything temporary has a beginning and an end. There's creation, destruction, birth, death. When we're Krishna conscious, we can be happy by remembering Krishna. Krishna's being born constantly in some universe somewhere. And at the same time, Krishna has no birth, because he's sarva karana karanam. He's the cause of all causes. He's the source of everything that exists. Aham bija pratapita. He's the father of every living entity. Everyone in this world needs a mother and father of some species in order to be born. But Krishna has no father and mother. He's the source of everything that exists, yet he has a father and mother, eternally, just for the sake of loving pastimes. And when he comes into this world, he takes birth. And it's the most joyous festival. So here, Parikshit Maharaj is blissfully, just days from death, blissfully celebrating Krishna's birth. This is transcendence. If we're Krishna conscious, we can be happy with Krishna, whatever may happen with us. Prabhupada said many times, a devotee, when they see Krishna decorated so beautifully with garments, whether we have garments or not, it doesn't really affect our happiness, because we're happy that Krishna has it. When we see Krishna getting wonderful prasad, bhoga, you know, when you're old, you may not be able to eat that much. You know, when you're young, you know, you have enthusiastic digestion and all of that. But when you get really old, you might only be able to take some, you know, squash. Steamed squash. No spice, no salt, no ghee, no butter, just steamed squash. I've seen some old people, that's what they eat. Anything else, they get sick. And squash can get pretty boring if you're attached to eating. But even then, when you see Krishna getting rasgullas and gulab jamans and samosas and sabjis and puris, we're very happy. Because Krishna's enjoying. Lord Chaitanya saw Advaitacharya making magnificent offerings, and they were all offered to Krishna. And Advaita said, now you come and take all the prasad. He said, I'm happy just seeing Krishna eating all this. Just give me some rice. He said, no, you taste whatever Krishna had. I'm happy just seeing Krishna at it. Just give me rice. That was his example. So whatever our state of life is, if we're actually becoming Krishna conscious, we can read Srimad Bhagavatam and read about Krishna's birth and how Nanda and Yashoda and all the Brijavasis are celebrating so beautifully, so wonderfully, so nicely, and that's all that matters. This is the Nitya Leela. Srila Prabhupada's example, if we read the diary of Jaladuta, Srila Prabhupada just had severe seasickness. And only a person who has really been severely seasick can understand what that means. It's one of the most unbearable tortures that the human body could tolerate is seasickness when it's really bad. And then he had several heart attacks, which is even more unbearable and life-threatening. And there was nothing around except ocean on all sides, no help. And Srila Prabhupada said that his solace and his great joy was tasting the nectarine pastimes of Lord Chaitanya from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And even in that state, Srila Prabhupada was in ecstasy just reading about Lord Chaitanya's eternal pastimes with his devotees. To put Krishna in the center. So here this incredible birth ceremony is being described. Nanda, Yashoda, and all the Brijavasis, the nature of their love. They did not know that Krishna is God. He was just a little infant baby who was just born a few hours before. And although he was unlimitedly beautiful, still, he had the size and the essential features of a baby that's just born a few hours before. Just a few hours later, or a day or two later, he killed Putana to demonstrate, even in that size, he's all-powerful. But they were not seeing him as all-powerful. They were seeing him as a completely helpless, beautiful little child, under their care, under their shelter. And they wanted all good fortune upon Krishna. Therefore, this wonderful celebration. They wanted every kind of blessing to be on little Gopal. And how do you receive blessings? By seva. Not by demanding blessings, but by seva. Blessings automatically come. By worshiping demigods, you get blessings of demigods. By serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's like watering the root of the tree, and all the blessings of the demigods simultaneously automatically come. Forefathers, by the Brahmins, the saintly people, So we are reading about how Nanda Maharaj was organizing this incredible celebration to bestow all blessings upon Krishna. It was so happy. Everyone was so happy. This is the nature of Vrindavan, where there's no envy. Everyone is happy for each other. Because we find all of the Brijavasis, they are at the peak of their satisfaction, seeing that Nanda and Yashoda have a beautiful son, like no other son. None of them were thinking, why is it not me? Why is Nanda and Yashoda's child getting all this attention? Why not mine? Because there's no envy. Paradukkha dukhi. Another's happiness is our happiness. That's Krishna consciousness. To the degree we had developed this consciousness individually and collectively, Srila Prabhupada explains, we are living in Vaikuntha. Because this material world is a place of envy. And the spiritual world is a place where there is no envy. So when we are actually well-wishers celebrating each other's good fortune, we're in the spiritual world. If Krishna's in the center. But even if we're in a temple, even if we're on the altar, man, woman, child, the trees, the grass, the animals, everyone was happy because Nanda and Yashoda had a child. And it was a struggle because everyone was sad because for so many years they didn't have a child. They wanted a child, and everyone wanted them to have a child. And the Brijavasis couldn't tolerate that no matter how much they tried, they couldn't have a child. And now that the child was born, what a celebration it was. Meanwhile, Vasudeva and Devaki, they worked so hard, in so many ways, just making incredible sacrifices just to facilitate Krishna coming to this world. They endured being in prison for at least 8 years, more, and they were still in prison. Their baby was finally born secretly. He was taken to Vrindavan, Gokul. Nobody even knew that they had Krishna as a child. Only Krishna and Yogamaya and the two of them. Nobody else in the world knew that they had Krishna as their child. We know. But at that time, nobody knew. Shukadeva Goswami released a very, very confidential truth. Even Nanda and Yashoda didn't know that they have the child that was born to Vasudeva and Devaki. So Vasudeva and Devaki, their celebration was in their minds. Vasudeva was giving charity. He was giving the same kind of charity as Nanda Maharaj in his mind because he was in prison. And he had to keep it a secret. For Krishna's safety, he had to keep it top secret. Couldn't invite any guests. So there's two absolutely different types of birth celebrations going on at the exact same time. One in a prison house in Mathura, where Vasudeva and Devaki are celebrating Krishna's birth. And one is in Vrindavan, where Nanda and all the Brijavasis are doing. But the same purpose is there, to bring blessings to Krishna. So everybody is dressed at their best. And it's describing here in so many verses how Nanda Maharaj, as Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj was telling us yesterday, to manage such a festival takes quite a lot of effort. In our temples, to organize festivals does take some effort. Our Pushyabhishek, we think it's something very extraordinary. But compared to Nandotsava, we have maybe 1 or 2 tons of flowers that we're offering to Krishna. Nanda Maharaj began the celebration by giving 2 million cows in charity. Think about that logistically. And he gave the cows in such a way that every single cow was decorated. They had gold horns and silver hooves, and they had beautiful, beautiful embroidered silks on them. And it describes here how they thoroughly smeared a mixture of turmeric and oil mixed with varieties of minerals. Their heads were bedecked with peacock feathers, and they were garlanded and covered with cloth and golden ornaments. All of them. That takes some management. But nobody was frantically, everyone was happy. They may have been frantic, but even franticness is happy if it's for Krishna. Not just a lazy thing. Everyone was engaged. He was engaging all of Vrindavan in so many beautiful ways, and everyone was excited. And then 7 mountains of grains. Can you imagine if he gave 2 million cows? Can you imagine the size of these mountains of grains? And each of those was covered with incredible jewels and gold and silver, precious cloths. And all of these different kinds of purifications. Everything that was being done was for the purpose, actually, of purification. Everyone was freshly bathed, and they were, as was described in yesterday's verse, everything in this material world is by nature contaminated. And the nature of this world is, without effort, things go in a downward direction. Just like your house. By nature's way, it's going to become not only filthy dirty, but it's going to fall apart. We have seen, if somebody's living in a house for 100 years, if they're just, living there and keeping it nice, even after 100 years, it's a beautiful house. But if nobody lives in a house for even 1 year, it just starts collapsing. Everything's falling apart. Well, to speak, if you don't clean your house, it doesn't naturally get clean. It naturally gets dirty. And from dirty to filthy. And from filthy to abominable. Yes, that's just nature's course. You have to work to clean it, otherwise it will get dirty. And to engage in sinful activities is so easy. To be pious takes austerity, because there's so many temptations that come to us. Any fool can give in to temptations. But it takes a very serious person to who actually live by higher principles. To leave a husband or leave a wife because of problems, that's an easy thing. But to make it work is very difficult. To maintain friendships is very difficult. It takes investment of time and investment of energy through our words, through our actions. Any relationships take serious investments and a lot of tolerance and a lot of forgiveness. And corruption. Practically in any free nation today there's constitutions. And the Constitution is basically constituted of different types of mechanisms to root out the inevitable reality of corruption. If we don't fight against corruption by nature's course, there's going to be corruption. In religious life, everything's going down unless we really, really fight to keep it up. At every moment, nothing's automatic. Krishna tells in Gita, even back in Dwapara Yuga when he's speaking to Arjuna, he tells that I instructed this to the sun god Vibhishwan, and he instructed it to Manu and then to Ikshvaku. But in due course of time, it was lost. That's just the nature of time. We see in the religions of the world, at the beginning, there's an inspired avatar or acharya who begins something very, very powerful. But then by time's own ways, politics come in, corruption comes in, cheating comes in, exploitation comes in, selfishness comes in, fighting over the unity of God. It's the most common thing. So just because we're the Hare Krishna movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't mean that material nature is not going to work like it works everywhere else. We have to understand our responsibilities. It takes tremendous amount of individual and collective effort to ward off the natural motion of this world, which is to bring things down into corruption, into selfishness, into greed, into lust, into anger, into envy, arrogance. That's why Srila Prabhupada gave us these 4 regulative principles, and he gave us these 16 rounds to chant, and he gave us these books to teach us what is the character, what is the consciousness, what is the values we should be living for. Nasta prayesha bhadreshu nityam bhagavati sevaya. Bhagavatam says we should hear this message every day, because if we don't, the tendency is the whole world, the whole material energy is directed at each and every one of us as individuals, as communities, as families, to corrupt us, to bring us down, to cause us to be envious, and cause us to be egoistic. That's the way the world works. So wherever we are, if we can somehow or other be free from envy and from ego and actually put Krishna in the center, that is Vaikuntha. That is the spiritual world. Purification. It's the purpose of life. And if we don't work for purification, then you will become impure. Everything becomes impure. If you don't bathe, you don't get clean. Yes? Bathing is work. Maybe nice work. Work is fun if we have the right consciousness. Some people hate to bathe. Really. I've heard there's some countries where people just hated to bathe. So they invented this thing called perfume. Where they wouldn't have to bathe. Because they would smell good, even if they didn't bathe. Which is basically what the perfume is doing in this case, is it's just covering the obnoxious smells coming out of you. So if you don't bathe, you're miserable. Yes, it's just the nature of the world. And if you don't clean your house, it's a mess. If you don't take care of your garden, it becomes unsightly. If you don't take care of your health, yes, what is exercise? Exercise is basically battling against material nature. That's what it's about. It's kind of like Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. People do exercise because if they don't get exercise, by nature's course, everything in your body just starts, your heart goes, and your lungs, and all the other organs of your body. So whether it's yoga or whether it's, Madhava's physiotherapies or whatever type of exercise it may be, Prabhupada walked. That doctor, after Prabhupada had his stroke in New York and heart attacks and everything, this Jewish doctor came to meet Prabhupada and he said, Swamiji, the problem is you pray too much. Now the devotees who heard him say this, they were very offended by this. They were, who is this doctor? They were about to jump on this man, but Prabhupada said, yes, what you're saying is correct. Prabhupada saw that what he meant is not that he shouldn't pray so much. What he meant is you have to get exercise. That's what it meant. You pray too much means you need some exercise. So then from that on, Prabhupada, for the rest of his leelas, he took morning walks every day. Religiously, he did morning walks. He did his translation, he did his japa, he did his, but every day he'd do his morning walk. It was a tradition. Even in the winters, he would dress up very warm and go out in the snow in the northlands of America and Europe. Because if you don't exercise, body by its own natural way just becomes sick. So purification on every level takes effort. And the Vedas teach us how to purify everything. Everything in this material world is potentially pure if we just understand how to purify it. Money could be a very dirty thing. It can pollute the consciousness with greed and envy and everything. But by giving money in charity, it purifies the money. And it purifies our relationship with the money. And by giving it in money for the purpose of serving Krishna, it purifies it and makes it into devotional service. Not to Shuddha or Sattva Guna, but Shuddha Sattva Guna. So by water we clean our bodies, we clean our homes, we clean the temples. Through charity we clean our earnings. Through austerity we purify our senses and our mind. It says by satisfaction. When we're satisfied on a spiritual level, more than anything else, that cleans the mind. Srila Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. If we're happy, even in the most difficult situations, even in the most painful situations, if we can find happiness in chanting Krishna's names, in doing some seva for Krishna, in our gratitude to Krishna, we become immensely purified by that satisfaction. So here Nanda Maharaj, he has arranged, along with his beloved Yashoda Mai and his brothers and his sister-in-laws and everybody else, they all came together and everyone was celebrating for the purpose of purifying and blessing Krishna. And by doing it, everybody becomes purified and blessed. When you water the root of the tree. It describes how there were incredible singers and dancers and musicians and wonderful foods, and we're going to go into the deepest. And in this particular purport that we concluded with today, it's describing how the Brajavasis made the cows and the bulls and the calves so happy. And Srila Prabhupada in his beautiful purport explains the importance. It wasn't just a ritual. Rituals are sacred and extremely powerful when we understand the purpose of the ritual and when we're actually fulfilling that purpose. But if we don't really seek the purpose, then rituals are more or less useless. And so often today, in India and everywhere in the world, it's a habit just to do the ritual for the sake of the ritual. Almost in a superstitious or fearful way. If I don't do this, something may happen to me. If I do this, something good may happen to me. But actually the purpose, just like that one person, he was constantly chanting Ram's names and glories, but his purpose was to become Ram, not to love Ram. And therefore Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not satisfied, nor was Ram satisfied, even the slightest, by his constant ritual of chanting the names and glories of Ram. Quite unbelievable. He was doing Hari Katha and Hari Kirtan day and night. But because he had the wrong purpose, Lord Chaitanya ignored him.